Who do I have with me today?
Randy Glotfelty with Randy Glotfelty Pottery, and I also build kilns for a company that's called Jen-Ken Kilns, and my brother and I own that business, and it's interesting that business we've been building that brand name has been around since 1951. We've been building kilns for about 32 years, and only kiln manufacturer in the state of Florida, and it's a small industry. At least the industry that's in the fine arts there's about 7 to 8 kiln companies around the country that do what we do, and then the pottery is the other part of it. We actually had, like, for a lot of years, we had an educational side to our business, and so that was kind of most of the interest was in teaching fine arts and teaching fine arts. So we did glass fusing, some glass blowing, of course, ceramics. And then we've kind of tinkered around in the knife making world. You've ever heard the show Forged in Fire?
Oh, I love that show.
Okay.
Well,
Well, it's amazing to find out the number of things that wind up in a kiln. And so knives
the fire.
have to wind up in it. You know, obviously you can take a piece of metal and make it sharp and you've got a knife, but anyway. But my mom had a ceramic shop in Lakeland that she opened in the like mid 60s and then closed it in the late 80s. And so she had 4 storefronts in Dixie Land. So if you're Lakelander, people know what Dixie Land is. And Dixie Land has kind of made a little bit of a comeback. Matter of fact, you know where Art Centric is?
Mm-hmm.
So Art Centric is right across the street from where my mom's shop was. And we called it the shop. But we still call our business the shop. Anyway, and so she had her paint your own pottery kind of room, and was very similar to like Picasso's Cup in town. And then next door to that was the like supply house. So, and back then, you know, like you walk into Picasso's Cup and you would pick up this with no decoration on it.
Yeah,
so it'd be
fair. You see the little price.
That's right. It's Bisqueware. And then you could do whatever you want. You could paint on it. And I don't think they have this at Picasso's Cup, but, and I don't know this for a fact, but it could likely be that this is a water slide off decal. And so it's a type of paint. Well, it's still fired. So it's you can print in all kinds of materials. So it's a ceramic material, but then it's slid off on here and then it's put back in the kiln and fired on. And so
they got this subbing or some sub something.
Yeah.
But it's not fired, it's just heated.
Well, true, yeah, you could do stuff like that. But so my mom's shop, well, there was no bisque to buy. You had to make all of it. So
you mean when you walked in, you didn't see the stuff that you wanted to?
Well, yes, but because the front of the room was all the stuff on the shelf in Bisqueware, but the back of the room was all the molds that we would cast and make stuff, you know. And so she would have like drawers full of water slide decals. So, and people made everything. They made lamps. They made, you know, all kinds of home decor and utilitarian wear. And she had greenware too. So greenware would be like, if you come see me at the market, selfless plug, you would see me make a piece of wet clay. And then when that's dry, it's called greenware. Very fragile. But what was fun about it, and this too has also made a little bit of a comeback, but have you seen all the Christmas trees with all the lights in them?
Oh, yeah.
So, matter of fact, I still slip cast these and I'm working on a bunch of them right now, but, and then you could draw holes in them, put all the different lights in them that you wanted, put lamp works in it, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so like Picasso's Cup, you would have all the paint your own pottery things, but it was so much more because you could buy the greenware and you could turn, and my brothers and sisters were, so my parents kind of had, I don't know how to word it, but like had 2 families almost. They had 3 kids, then they waited 11 years and had 3 more kids. So there's a separation.
Wow.
So my oldest brothers were, 16 years older than me, roughly.
I got a brother that's 12 years younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
My sister was 11 years older than me, 11 and a half. But they would, because you could do this, I mean, a couple of my oldest brothers, and my sister to a degree too, were just practical jokers. Like would do all kinds of stuff. But so they would, you could get like this ceramic toad that you could slip cast, and then people would buy it and put it like as yard art.
Okay.
And then my mom had like an eagle mold, with the big spread wings and all this kind of stuff. But one of my brothers decided that they were going to take the wings of the eagle
and put it on
the toad. Well, and me and my twin brother were still very young. We were 4, 5, 6 years old, kind of at the time. And for years, that he had this legend of this flying toad, and on foggy mornings he would go put it in a yard, and he built this whole elaborate story around it. And he'd run us out to like some place, and we'd look in a tree and be like, "Dad, you chase them off,"
Oh wow.
Anyway, so they did all kinds of great stuff like that. But
I know that you guys had the gator named Blinky. Did you name that?
No, that actually was an adjacent lake, and because back then, it's kind of weird. Like Lake Wire, people recognize that as the lake that there's a big church on one side. Lawton Childs is on that side. You got Swan Brewery. Well, that was a big swimming hole. People swam and fished at that lake when we were real young. So, so this Blinky that was an iconic figure, now it's like humpback or something like that, but would kind of travel from lake to lake. So people would spot it in all kinds of lakes.
Yeah.
And even in Lake Mirror, there was the gators used to line up there all the time, and that was the Lakeland Parade, could go all the way around.
Yeah.
And so and my second oldest brother was Blinky. He was.
Is there a story behind how that started?
Well, supposedly, and it's funny because there were a couple young, and I don't know who's telling the truth, but one of my sister's boyfriends claims to have shot this alligator in the eye, and he is supposedly the person that's why Blinky's Blinky, But then it kind of wound up, because it wound up in all these different spots, and they would just move it to some other lake. It just kind of caught on, this cult following. And then my brother took on the characters that wore the Blinky costume in the parade and all those kinds of. Wow. And he was with the marching band at Lakeland High School. Lakeland High School goes way back too. Matter of fact, I gave to Lakeland High School. My son graduated from Harrison, but marched for Lakeland. And we had a couple old albums that the Lakeland marching band recorded, so I gave them to
LPs, like record.
Yeah, because the band recorded, and total, like, you just make me think of this kind of stuff. But he was in the marching band with I think the last name was Woodward, and he is one of the only people. This young man that was in this marching band with my brother, in the Lakeland marching band, was one of the only people ever to have gone off Niagara Falls, only wearing a life jacket, and survived. Yeah. And he was
after high school.
No, he was like it was actually before he got to Lakeland like up into high school, but it was kind of known about him because pretty famous.
Well, how hard could we find his last name? How many people have done that?
Oh yeah, I'm sure you could Google it and find it really quick. I think it's like Woodward, but
wow.
But yeah, so one of his classmates has been off Niagara. I don't think thinking of all the stories you could tell.
Man,
that's where. But yeah, that whole area, and I've loved seeing this whole downtown kind of revitalized, and it's had its ebbs and flows. I mean, certainly it's been. I mean, when I was a kid, it was kind of like the rich part of Lakeland. The downtown area was Fox and Hound and all these.
Are you talking like the early '80s, late '70s?
Yeah, it'd be like early to mid '80s.
Okay.
And of course, you and I talked that Sunday. Of course, everything was closed on Sunday, so we'd ride our bikes down the middle of South Florida Avenue.
Yeah, yeah.
And at my mom's shop, and there was some, I don't know how this is going, but there was some talk where they were going to put it back the way it was. That's why all those little weird things.
Diet? What they call a diet?
Well, those concrete things that are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but at my mom's shop, you could actually drive down South 40 and just pull in a park spot in front of us.
Yeah.
So whether or not they'll get rid of it, I have a hard time believing that's going to happen. But.
So I guess it was your mom. How did how did your mom get into the ceramics originally, if you don't mind?
She got into it from, I mean, my mom was an amazing artist. I mean, she was just into everything, and everything in her was a piece of art. Everything in her was something to be made into art. I mean, she even studied origami, and like she would give the kids, like if she gave you a denomination of dollars, it was folded into something, a ring, a bird. She just never stopped thinking. And it's kind of funny because I read this book, I mean, decades later, called How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci. And there's a workbook that comes with it. But anyway, one of the things I didn't know about him was that he wrote in mirror. And he did that because he claimed that the mere act of writing distracted his stream of thought. So he would write in mirror. That's how my mom wrote. She wrote in mirror, like you had to hold it up to the mirror to be able to read it. And she wrote in mirror like as fast as you and I would just take dictation. And I was thinking, it's like, great. But she was just very creative and artistic, and so she met a man who he and his wife, he was in the service, and I don't know exactly how the dots were connected, but they met kind of. He was into ceramics, and he actually taught ceramics on base in some places, and it was kind of that was the catalyst to start the ceramic shop. Excuse me. And anyway, so it was, it was the place where the school buses kind of dropped us off, and it was kind of funny.
Local hangout.
Yeah, and we laugh about it because at the time, imagine this happening today. No possible conceivable way. But we would just tell the school bus driver, "Hey, whoa, stop. Just let us off here. We're close enough to our mom's shop." What? No, that would never happen.
I can't.
And we even we collected people. So we just would drag, like if there were new kids would come to the school, and we would be like, "Hey, why don't you just get off at our stop?" And then we would get off there and hang out at the shop, and they would just call their mom, "Hey, mom, at this kid at school."
I remember, dude. I remember.
But no, could you imagine some kid getting off at a stop?
What in the world?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think in part, it just people began to get kind of.
It's fear-based, right?
It is a little, yeah, I'm sure it is. I mean, obviously, I have an alarm system at home. Maybe you do too. I don't know if you do or not.
I got cameras.
And yet, it's probably safer in our neighborhoods than it was when we were kids, and it's like, oh, well, they're there, we'll buy them, that kind of thing. So, but I did read an article once where it said that when you and I were kids, that the kind of radius that we could travel from our home was about 3 miles. It was kind of the average kid. Today it's 30 feet.
Are you serious?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's just tiny that we.
No, I never thought about that.
And there wasn't a lot of organized free play. I mean, you and I, when the school bus got out, it was like ants just going wherever.
Yeah. My wife always loves this story where my mom, I used to play baseball at a place called Joyce Park in Hamilton, Ohio, and it was 3, 4, 5 miles away. And I said, "Mom, Dad, I got baseball practice. I need a ride." And they said, "Well, I can get you there, but I can't get you back." So they would take me there, and I would ask for a ride. "Hey, can you give me a ride home? Can you give me a ride home?"
Yeah.
And I always found a ride home. My wife finds that shocking. I was like, "Babe, it was just the normal thing."
Yeah. That's funny because you just remind me, like finding a way home, is my parents always had station wagons because a lot of kids.
So did we, 4 of us.
And, we had the station wagon where you faced out the back window, but the coveted spot was that middle, like where between the two things. So you could just sit there and kind of stretch your legs out. And again, kind of one of these things where maybe people are going to think, "Man, your parents were cruel." But, I'm sure my older brothers and sisters could tell tons of stories about this, but my dad was always kind of this, he mostly was soft-spoken in a way, but yet he was very demonstrative, and if he said it, it was going to happen. And he would just kind of say, "Listen, if you guys don't stop fighting in the back of the car, you're getting out and walking home." Sure enough, pulls the car over, get out.
Yeah.
And you're walking home, 4 or 5
right.
miles,
I agree.
And again, we had no possible conceivable way that would happen today. But I can tell you this, not a whole lot of fighting in the car after that.
Oh, yeah. I only did it once. My dad said, Donnie, don't hit your brother again.
Yeah.
I went, I hit him again. He pulled over the side of the road, said, Donnie, get out. Got out, and he copped me. I never hit my brother again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, and I gotta believe that they still knew. They knew where you were. I mean,
Oh,
for
of
all I
course,
know, my
of
dad
course.
circled the neighborhood. Who knows? But
They don't take I don't take eyes off you.
yeah, you know, and I mean, and I know for a fact that even though they couldn't track our little bubble, they could still, you know, the
Yeah.
neighbors were tracking you.
Oh,
So, you know, it's constant. As much as running.
that's fantastic. So when it comes to the arts, your customer base, do you get more custom? Do you get more retail? What is the thing today?
Well, you know, it's interesting. So I focus really on two things. One is I focus on my classes, and I only do a couple a year, and it's an adult wheel class. So you come into my studio, and there's 10 wheels lined up. Everybody sits at a wheel, and for 5 weeks, 3 hours a time, we just sit and have fun on wheels.
That's fantastic.
And then I focus on my wares. It's it's hard to. I mean, lots of potters scale up to all kinds of levels. I mean, it's a massive tent. You know, you can be. I know people that to buy one of their mugs is $500. You know, so there's a $500 mug person, and then there's the person that's making thousands of bucks. I have a friend that he was asked by Cracker Barrel to make 20,000 mugs. And so he made 20,000 mugs on the wheel, one at a time. You know.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And so it's everything in between. And for me, I primarily focus on the outdoor art festival style market setting. So I focus on wares that I listen to the audience, and I listen to people as they come by and they tell me things. They send me a text.
I know you're sitting there, and I can see you on your wheel, and you're down there, and you can see and hear. That's a perfect view.
Exactly. And so everything from glazed colors to the types of things people want, I'm constantly thinking about that. And that's the stuff that I build. I do have some wares that I build that I make for a couple of companies. I get a lot of requests for, can you make 50 mugs for a employee appreciation thing? And I do some of those things, but because I don't really scale from the way that like my mom's shop would have, I mean, I could, this is kind of acceptable potter methods. So I could create a mug, and then I could make a mold of that mug, and then I could then make a block, and then I could make 10 of those, and then I could make slip, and then I could pour all those. Now I'm making 10 mugs at a time. Typically, they say that if you make 100 pieces of a mold, that's kind of acceptable. That's your handmade stuff, you know. But most of the customers that I have that want these small run things, they want my hands on the piece. So it's not.
That's what art. That's
yeah.
artist.
So I do some mugs for Born and Bred, and I've been working on some projects for 1961, and I just enjoy that because I love the Lakeland businesses. I love to support Lakeland stuff. Obviously, Born and Bred. I mean, I'm not going to be like a.
The reputation precedes you.
Yeah, so I just like doing stuff for them. But anyway, so I get requests for it. It just depends on the project because it's a super time consuming. And as you know, you see me, you know, to make 100 mugs, to deliver 100 mugs to one place is a good thing. It is an easy thing. But to make 100 mugs, it's the same. It's one of these 100 times, right? You know, so
you have to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, and I love being. I mean, my wife and I, we have fun at the market. We like people. We love the people that come down. And recently, and you can probably go find it on Instagram. I'm terrible. I have one of these. Believe it or not, the thing that I use this for is as a phone. And of course, kids today, they don't realize this is a phone because they use it for everything else.
Sure.
But I do have a social media page. Unfortunately, my wife's brilliant at it, but I don't get on there very much. But it was just a fun little story, and this occasionally happens, but I'm on the wheel, and people are coming by constantly, and it's a fun attraction, because it's just kind of this weird thing that
You get
you see
attention.
this
It's so
blob
different.
of clay, and it's turning into something. And this little boy walks up, and he goes, "What are you making?" And I said, "Well, what do you think I'm making?" And he goes, "I think you're making a rocket." And I was like, and his parents were like, "Stop, he's not making a rocket." And I said, "Well, actually, it turns out I am making a rocket." And so I made a rocket, and put the little fins on it, and we put the little and stuff. And it's just that kind of thing that we really enjoy. It's like just connecting with people, and neighbors will be out there and like, "Wait, what? This is what you do?" Because we don't know what our neighbors do, but
that's wisdom, helping the world.
Yeah,
you probably made a big impression on that kid.
Yeah, so I'll get little kids, and this is fun because I'm always like, what can of worms do I open up? But spoiler alert, so if you don't hear this part, but I'll have little kids come up and they'll, "Oh, I want to try," and of course, mom and dad are like, "No, no, no, no." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, you should come try." And I'll say, "Okay, now you're gonna have to help me here because we're gonna have to pull this up, and I need you to put your hand in." I'll give them a little brief explanation, and so they put their hands in this piece. And I'm over here, I'm like, "Well, we're gonna do it together, okay?" And then it's like, and they're just like, "Oh," like this. And of course they walk away going, "I know how to do that." Like,
sweet.
You can learn it for sure, but it's like the moment where
you planted the seed. You never know.
I hope so.
You planted the seed into it.
But they're just.
Do you have any kids?
Yeah. So my kids are. My son is actually married. He's in Orlando, and he's a really terrific artist. He actually can throw on the wheel pretty good, and he draws and paints and does leather craft. He does all kinds of crazy stuff. But and then my daughter is about to graduate from UF, and she actually they both went to Harrison. She plays the violin, beautiful violinist,
artistic.
My son is a percussionist, so everything we own has a dimple on it from where a drumstick is coming from. We thought it was brilliant because we thought to ourselves that we had I remember the day when he picked drums and we were like, "Oh, this is great. Put a pair of drumsticks in your back pocket." Because we'd see people like dragging the cello. And we're like, "Oh man," and of course a bassoon is $10,000. And we thought, "Yeah, he's got a pair of drumsticks." And we were like, "Oh man, he's a drummer."
They got those things where they got the 3 or 4.
Oh, he does. He got it. He went down to FAU and played for their orchestra. So he kind of gravitated to more concert style drumming. So marimba, we built a marimba together. But he's and so my daughter's artistic in her own way, but she's also she's the math genius, and so she's gone the medical route. She's going to be occupational therapist, but yeah, my mom, and I'll just kind of tell you this, just a little bit more of the backstory. But my mom, my brother and I, we never really intended on getting into this business, but we went to college, and over the years, my mom had in one of the shops was making clay and making specifically slip, which is clay that's liquid, so it's almost like the consistency of like wet concrete or something like that.
Okay.
And that's how to a degree, it's how lots of things are made this is slip cast, this is in a mold. If you're going to mass produce anything, it's going to have to be either slip cast or pressed into a mold. And there's some jigs and stuff you use wheels. But anyway, she had this porcelain formula. And so when she closed up the shop, this little porcelain formula paper just kind of got stuck in a file. And so while we were going to college, we thought, well, maybe we could just peddle this stuff. We did just like every other kid. We helped with paper routes and lawn care.
Paper route.
And everybody worked at Publix and bagging groceries, all this kind of stuff. Well, so we thought we would just peddle this porcelain because back in the the late 80s and on, porcelain was huge in this country. And especially porcelain dolls.
My mother loved them.
Yeah.
Loved them.
So porcelain figurines. I mean, Yadro, precious moments, all that kind of stuff. And matter of fact, it's still alive today. But so we started making this porcelain slip in their shed, and we would just sell it, to go to these little kind of like a wholesale trade show. But anyway, we met a guy from a company in Newport Richey, and it was a doll maker. And he said, and we met him in my parents' living room, and he was like, "Hey, we'd really love to buy your slip." I'm like, "Okay, great, yeah, we'd love to do it." And it was like from that moment, they started buying thousands of gallons. They mentioned us to another company that was in Germany who made like porcelain teddy bear things, and they wanted that. So it was just like we were making 200,000 gallons of porcelain, and just that's what launched the business. So when we graduated college, I mean, we were already like just full on nothing but porcelain.
Your mother made the formula up?
Well, no, she actually came across it. My mom loved to go to every possible class on any art. So she traveled around the country going to these glazing companies and taking classes and workshops, and she was very, very good china painter. And it was in one of those times in Chicago she came across this lady that had this porcelain formula, and over the years, I didn't know anything about any of this stuff from a standpoint of, I mean, I could mix all the ingredients together, but there's ceramic engineers out there, and of course everybody gets involved in like the fine tuning of all this kind of stuff. And we just kind of were lucky that Florida and Tennessee have like some of the greatest mines of clay on the planet.
I didn't know that.
And so, matter of fact, Florida has like one of the number one ingredients in all ceramics is kaolin. And there's a place in Florida called Edgar, Florida, and the product is EPK, Edgar Plastic Kaolin. And apparently it's so good they just basically drive trucks in, scoop it up, pour it in a bag, and sell it.
Wow.
But anyway, so we were fortunate to be close to some really great materials, but then we were kind of looking for ways to like do other things, and we had kilns because we had to fire all the stuff. And so that's when we started building kilns. And the porcelain formula, I mean, the porcelain business in the United States, it was almost like a 5-year window. It just evaporated and moved out of the country to like Denmark and Indonesia, and I mean, massive operations.
Was it the profit driven?
I think so. I mean, a lot of stuff were moving. That was, you and I didn't grow up in the world of Walmart and Amazon and all that kind of stuff. So lots of things were moving out of the country. Yeah, and we had businesses that were buying kilns and slip. They had 3 shifts. They were operating 24/7,
Wow.
firing and manufacturing. And one of the owners told me, I can get this made for, 3 pennies. I mean, wow, so
Cheap labor.
massive operations, 300,000 square foot operations, dozens of it just evaporated.
Well, it seems to me in this new age like this today, this is squirted on by a computer, and it's plastic. Yours, it still has to be handmade, fired. So you're never going to be out of business.
Yeah.
This is the cheap way. This is the nice way.
And it's interesting because so are you telling me this is 3D printed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So it's fascinating because these two things have married to some degree. And because now there's 3D ceramic printers.
What?
Yeah.
But do they need to be fired?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, I see. Like if it was going to be a cup, it would be a dispenser that would spin and make a cup. Then you throw it in the oven.
Yeah.
Okay.
But of course, nobody would make a ceramic mug out of it because it'd be the most expensive mug ever designed.
Yeah, it'll go down. The price will go down.
But people aren't using it for that. I mean, there's this kind of like, if you go out and look at 3D ceramic pieces, there's some really beautiful pieces out there. Really, some interesting things being installed in places, and so there's its place. But you're right that you can. You write this down; it'll be true. That we think about when you look at like archaeological art things, and we look at like paintings, even look at like people think of like the Ming Dynasty vases and all that.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's like the 14th century. But they were throwing clay on the wheel BC. Like, I mean, back in the Egyptian days,
Yeah.
go to the Met, go to the Smithsonian, you'll see the stuff. And the way clay is thrown on the wheel today, and it was thrown thousands of years ago, it's going to be exactly the same 500 years from now. There will be a wheel, there will be a motor of some kind, and people will make pieces exactly like you see me make it in the market. And for one reason is because everybody is drawn. I don't care if you're somebody that just doodles on a piece of paper at your company meeting. We're all drawn to create things. We all want to work in the garden, draw something, paint something, work with clay. It's the most earthy thing to do, is to grab a piece of clay and build something, work with wood. It's just never going to not be, and nobody wants to send that off to a 3D printer. I mean, you can use a 3D printer to be part of your artistic endeavors in clay, but people are going to come because people come. I mean, to the classes, our classes fill up. And please don't hear me this. I'm not being boastful. I just know that whether it was me teaching it or any other potter, it'd be the same. I mean, I post the classes the next day. They are sold.
When do you usually do these classes?
They're on Thursday nights from 6 to 8:30.
What part of the season?
So I do a class in the fall. They're 5 weeks long, and then I spend about 2.5 months in the market, and then I do another class in January, February for 5 weeks, and then sometimes I'll squeeze in another class before summer. And it's kind of weird. The season typically is September to like April. And part of that is I've learned that over the summer, because we're all driven by the school calendars and our kids' calendars, it is really hard to commit to 5 weeks. I used to have a 6-week class. It was people just couldn't make it all 6 classes. And so, imagine over the summer with all the summer vacations and camps and things like this, it's just impossible for people to commit to 5 weeks. So we usually don't do, that's usually my time to hide in the studio.
Yeah. Well, what you telling me what you just told me gives me an idea of what business you're in. You're in the business of appreciating their time. What you're doing is you're creating a moment of time in their life that they can take with them for the rest of their life. It's very simple. You get this printed, okay, it breaks, you throw it in the trash. If you go to my house right now, and on my china cabinet, I don't know if it was Picasso or what, but I went in there, I got a bowl, I put every place I've ever been on vacation, I wrote it in.
That's great.
Paris, I wrote it, and then we had it fired. My wife had a big old plate, and she did hers, and my son and my wife, we did a bowl. So what we did is we captured a moment of our lives and time in that piece.
You're right. It's a legacy type item. People know. I have some of the things, but you could. For example, my grandparents lived in Iowa. They came and stayed with my parents 3 months every winter. My grandfather, same breakfast every morning, a cup of coffee, some grape nuts, but it was those moments, those moments of like that. And of course, some things break, time has a way of dealing with those things, but we all know, and especially if you're in the position like I am, where both my parents have now passed away, that it becomes that thing, that tactile thing that you could pull off a shelf, you can hang on to it, and almost instantaneously, it takes you back to all of those little moments, those memories that it triggers. It's the one thing that anchors you back to that thing that you think is forever gone, but yet it's there.
I can only imagine you personally. Every piece you've created that moment in time in your life.
Yeah,
I've done it 2 or 3 times in my life. You've done it thousands and thousands.
Well, I do love the stories of, and sometimes people get a chance to get something made again. Like somebody will come to me and they're like, "Oh man, I'm so glad that," they'll show me a picture of the mug that broke. you know, and so I'm trying to recreate that piece again.
It's non-repairable.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's a big question people have, and it's heartbreaking. It is. I mean, the only way to put back this piece is super glue. I mean, or some glue.
Yeah.
Good way to do it, but there's no way to mend. I have those pieces. Trust me, I've got pieces of my mom, China painted, and with a brush so small that it had one strand on it to paint the eyes.
Wow.
Gone. You know, so I get it. I feel for you. It happens, but they're there, and you try and protect those things and
take pictures. I like pictures.
And the other thing too, it's interesting about, you know, like Picasso's cups has fallen in, and by the way, you know, trust me, I love Picasso's cup. It reminds, just the smell of the place reminds me of my mom's shop. Smell of clay, you know, but it falls into this category of what now is referred to as art for entertainment, because people kind of feel like it's a date night, but they're kind of missing part of it. They're missing a little bit of what you're trying to say. And granted, maybe there are people that go in there and it's a young couple and the young man's on his second date with this girl. He probably doesn't remember the mug. Good for him. He should.
Oh,
right?
We know what he's thinking.
But then there's a lot of people like you that are going in there and they're creating moments with their kids or their grandkids or those kind of things. And in our classes, what I have loved over the years about the classes is I never do the thing, and maybe it's good, bad, and different, I don't know, but I never go around the room and say, tell us who you are and anything about yourself. Yes, we know each other's names and the shelves are labeled and all this kind of stuff. But I have had classes where sitting in this chair is a school teacher, and sitting right there is the city manager, and sitting right there is a Publix employee, and sitting over here is a orthopedic surgeon. And they love that. They love the fact that we're in this moment, and when you're on the wheel, you can't help but be present, because it will otherwise the wheel will just control you. I mean, you have to be so focused on what you're doing, and we're all kind of watching each other's successes. It's a really neat moment. It's a really neat experience of just unplugging. How many things are we present in anymore? You know, very few things
I
anymore.
agree.
And so people really enjoy that. They love that aspect of it. Of course, just getting to there's nothing more earthy and raw than just a clump of clay that will then become something that you'll take home, and it'll be a succulent pot or a bowl that you have ice cream out of it. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of a really neat component of it. And of course, my mom she made she made wall sconces and things that hung on the wall and lamps and all kinds of stuff at our house. But we don't do a whole lot of that stuff anymore, although you could.
Yeah. It's as if though we did ourselves a favor. We said to ourselves, we want to appreciate this moment in time of all four of us together. So we made the appointment, we showed up, we did it all together. So time doesn't wait for nobody.
Yeah.
Time just keeps going. So you can appreciate a moment occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
I never
and
even
you
thought
and
about that.
We touched on this a little bit while we were just setting up today, that there is a generation of young people now, and you were surprised that I told you that a large percentage of the people that shop with us at the market are young people.
Yes.
High school, college, and
their minds are still free and open to some degree.
And yet they walk in and you just see it, and I mean, I just so wish I would have brought. I mean, this actually has a very nice, you kind of get that resonation, and just tells you that this is something like permanent. But they walk into the booth and they're looking at all these things, and there's an up and coming generation that want something permanent, tangible. They want the like we said, the legacy item. They want to form a tradition. They want to have something they can pass down, because they have now grown up in a world that everything is disposable. Everything from all the dishes that are in the cabinets and the silverware and the utensils and things that we get every day delivered in box after box after box on Amazon. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We all do it, but they're looking for those things. And you know, that it's a journal now. It's
that innate human that they need to access.
Yes, I can keep all the same notes on here that I can here. But people that are around me know that this is the thing that I keep my best ideas in, you know, the things that I'm working on, the drawing or the little notes or something, yeah. And they're all searching for that. And it's so fascinating to watch that culturally we were moving so fast towards the like have it all, get it all kind of thing, and that we left behind those things that you and I appreciate about our parents. And now they're going back to that. And they get that a little bit. And I love seeing all those things at the market, whether it's the leather craft person, whether it's the lady even that makes all the stuffed animals, you know, that knits them all, all that stuff. That is the legacy item, the thing that you can pass down, that you can hand down, that we, you know, whether it's even just these little noodle bowls that we make, the ramen bowls, that you're sitting down and having that meal together because they didn't buy it so they could sit
in the china cabinet like mine.
Yeah. Or that they could enjoy some fast food. It just, no, they bought it so that we could sit together and have this cup of coffee. We could talk about life and times, you know, gather together back around something. And if that is the single trigger, well, okay, great.
That's right.
And they're looking for it. They really, truly are.
I had no idea until you told me this.
Yeah,
it makes sense that kids are still.
Yeah, unsurprising. It's amazing to me to see a young 22 or 23-year-old that will email after buying stuff and going, "Hey, I love this glaze. Can I get this matching this?" You know, and you think, "Oh, that's really interesting." You know, and yet, yeah. So I think they appreciate it. And
a few years ago, when we got married, we went and did the whole 9 yards of picking out a china. It was tradition. My mom had some china, so now my wife wanted china. So we went out and we got some china, and you know, people bought it for us and gave it to us at our wedding, and we put it in our china cabinet for 20 some years. We just left it in 20. And just a few years ago, my wife said, "You know what, Donnie? We bought this, and we're going to use it. We're going to appreciate it." So she took out all the china and we use it in our day-to-day thing. Instead of just letting it sit there and be something, we use it. And I remember, and when I go make her lunch, I said, "Baby, you see what I got this on? On the china cabinet."
Yeah.
On the china plate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah. And so those are some fun things. And yeah, I don't do a whole lot of like complete sets of things. But you know, I'm kind of working some other directions. And again, right now we're having a lot of fun at the Lakeland Market. The Lakeland Market, if people haven't gone there yet, if they're listening to your show and they haven't been to Lakeland Market, you got to get out of the house on Saturday morning, get down there, because I've been to a bunch of these things all over the state of Florida, and Lakeland has something very special.
That's good to hear.
Very special.
I didn't know. I know we had a good market, but I didn't know it was that well.
It is. Yeah. You could go to Orlando to 2 or 3 markets and come back to Lakeland, and you would think, wow, I thought for sure I would go to someplace like Orlando and they'd be blown away. No, you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, me and my wife, we do that a lot. We go to a lot of them, and I've never even really compared them, but some of them are small in parking lots and they're not very big. And went down to one in Georgia not too long ago.
And you probably connect to more than I do, but it's also a great space if you're a young person and you're you have any sense of like an entrepreneurial. There's a lot of entrepreneurial energy at the market, and when you see all these people that have come out and with their wares and their goods and their services and
their ideas,
and
that's where I got this guy.
It's inspiring. It really is to watch all that. You know, just recently I bought from a guy that does all these custom rubs, you know, for like barbecue.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just any number of things that you can think of at the market. And I'm thinking, good for you. You know, I mean,
Amen.
Got to start somewhere. And there's young people there that are in their early 20s that have fresh made pastas. And it really is a neat thing to see, because again, I think when you and I grew up, and I wondered where this was how this got lost and where it was going, but there was the paper route for the very young. I mean, what were we?
I was 12.
Yeah,
10,
I was going
12.
to say 13, 14. There was the lemonade stands, all those things evaporated. But now there's the markets. And so maybe that's the new, the lemonade stand of this future.
I'll tell you, just a real quick story. My paper route. I had a paper route and they had a contest. The Journal News had a paper route contest. Whoever gets the most new customers could win a trip to this place called Walt Disney World in Florida.
Wow.
And I'm from Ohio, Hamilton, Ohio, and that's a world away. So I went out, knocked on doors, did everything I could, and I got 7 new customers. And went home, phone rang, it was Journal News, and they said, "Can I talk to Donnie?" I was like, "Hello." They said, "This is the Journal News. Congratulations, you got 7 new customers. The winner got 17. I just want to let you know that you came in second, and we really appreciate everything you did." I was like, I just blew it off. Hung up. 5 minutes later, the phone rang back again. "Can I speak with Donnie?" I said, "Hello. Hey, we decided you're coming with us as well."
Wow.
I was 12 years old. So I got to go on an airplane with a chaperone from Hamilton, Ohio, down here to Florida.
Amazing.
I got to go to Walt Disney World and Epcot in like 81 or 82
Okay.
at 12 years old, and then go back and not knowing that I would end up in Florida.
Huh.
Had no idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was really fortunate, very fortunate.
Yeah. And they, it's interesting too, because like that kind of story is difficult to see happening now,
It's a shame.
and yeah, it is a shame. And, I mean, again, times change and generations
Yeah.
kind of adapt to that, but yeah, and if there's people that, because the kids went to Harrison, I was around a lot of young people that were looking at the arts in general as maybe a possible vocation. And interestingly enough, in Polk County, there's about 70 ceramic programs.
70?
Polk County schools. Yeah. But it's interesting because I'm in no way is this meant to be disparaging, because there's a lot. I mean, I could name for you lots of tremendous teachers that in Polk County that have some unbelievable ceramic talent. Although it's not really looked at as a vocational art that much. I mean, and yet it is in the fine arts. It's one of the fastest growing, largest fine arts that you can possibly be part of. That you can imagine there will forever need to be
That's right.
mugs and plates and all those kind of things. And ceramics is in all kinds of things. I mean, I know companies that do custom tiles for pools, bullnose, nothing but bullnose tiles, custom fireplace hearths, tile fireplace hearths, custom kitchen countertops, hand carved countertops. I mean, there's
You think your mom
architecture
had anything from Florida Tile when they were all this time?
Yeah, no question. I mean, she had. Matter of fact, we actually talked to Florida Tile before they went out of business, because we were building at the time. We built a couple of Lear style kilns, and so we built a couple of kilns for customers that they were 70 feet long, and you could put a mug on this end, and it went 1/8 inch per minute, so it was very slow, and it came at the other side done. So it was constant. Yeah, exactly. Just firing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so you can imagine there's everything from that to the life of the just studio potter. And by the way, I know studio potters all over this country. And I've done business with this one studio potter couple, live in Jacksonville. He retired from the service. He and his wife opened up a ceramic shop, and they now are about to retire. And I asked him, I went to visit him, and in my son was with me, I was like, what? Just give me an idea. What was life like for you? What's a day in the life of this? Well, my wife and I get up in the morning, and we go sit on the porch, and we have a cup of coffee and have some breakfast, and then we get started on. And you hear this story, and you're thinking to yourself, Elon Musk wants a piece of that, billions of dollars, but yet I promise you, that this little family in Pensacola with their kids, they sent their kids through college, and their whole life was this fairy tale, really, love story and life and vocation in the ceramic arts. It can be done, and there's such a world of it out there, and it disappoints. I don't know, and I saw lots and lots of talented kids at Harrison, and many of them are doing some wonderful things. I mean, some of them are cruise ship, Broadway, some of them are working in marketing companies doing artistic stuff. But I would tell them that there still is plenty of room for the studio artist that is just making art itself.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it. And you can make a tremendous living, and will you be,
would it seem difficult I'm just telling you from my point of view, entrepreneurship, the reputation, I hate to say it, but starving artists, I hear it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In today's world, is it possible? Do you have to have all this overhead capital? Can you just start small? People gotta eat.
And here's the thing that's interesting about it too, to me, is that companies from DeWalt to companies in my industry, they want to find people they want to find the next generation. They're willing to. There's trade shows in the ceramic world. It's called NCECA, and this year it's in Kansas, maybe, I think. Can't remember, but anyway, you can look it up. There's colleges that are dying to give full scholarships to get in ceramics.
Wow.
And so there's money, there's companies that would be behind it. But here to me you're right about one thing, is that I think it was C.S. Lewis that said we're all far more ignorant than we are knowledgeable. And
of course.
Which is true for you.
99.999% ignorant.
You and I can admit to that, because we don't know half the things about knowledge.
I proudly say to myself, to keep myself open-minded, that I'm the most ignorant person I know.
But in some small part of your life, there will be a domain that you have a level of expertise in. The starting artists, all the starving artists that I see, there's two main problems. One is they never make the leap. They never make the step into it. It's always it's the hobby. It's the thing that they kind of do. People tell them they're really good at it. That's one thing, which I get. I get that. It's very difficult. And I'm not saying jump in. I tell my own kids, don't jump out of this boat until another good boat pulls up alongside it, right?
Right.
But the other thing is that they think they can do it all. And so, for example, one thing that works brilliantly for my wife and I is she is so good at the marketing, at the sales, at organization. She is tremendous at that. She's this tremendously compassionate person that just comes out in all that she does at the market. The little touches, the special little things, the chalk neck placards, all that stuff. She's tremendous at. The starving artist will think, you go by a booth, and and I'm not sure if this is a great litmus test, but go to an outdoor art festival and go by the booth and ask yourself, where's the artist at? And he's hiding behind one of the walls of his booth, sitting in like a little chair back there, hoping you won't talk to him. That's the starving artist. Okay, so you're not a people person. You're not that extroverted. You're great. So fine. Hire that part out. There's a world of people out there that are starving copy artists, that are starving marketing people. They're starving.
Your yang is out there. If you're the yang, where's the yang?
Don't struggle for that reason. And maybe there's one other little third thing, and it's I learned it from a guy named Ray Edwards Show podcast. And I'm actually, I think Dave Ramsey says this too. Don't sell what people aren't buying. And artists love their work so much. There's a really fun story. The most famous American ceramist is George Orr. He started in the Depression, threw for 11 years. He had like 12 kids. And then he stopped throwing, sold everything, threw everything away. His kids started a mechanic shop in one of his places, one of his studios. And if you found a piece like this that was a George Orr original, this is $20,000. Well, he would sell stuff in the Depression time, and he would $250 for a piece.
That's a lot.
In the Depression, that's Rockefeller money, right? And then he would go find this person and demand that they take their money back because he knew they couldn't appreciate it. He was just this crazy, like, artist type, right? His glazing, all this stuff was, I mean, people would love to know what he knew, right? So there's a little bit of that too. Like, don't sell what people don't want. Yes, make the art that you love, but also find out what the bread and butter, what the thing's going to pay the light bill on the car bill, what they want. Make that for them. There's nothing wrong with that. But yes, it can be totally done.
Yeah, and it's also hard if you don't have the great advice. If you're on your own and you don't have someone with experience or knowledge or wisdom, it's tough. Yeah. So find someone who is
a mentor, you know.
Yeah, a mentor.
And that may be the great thing about this, you know, that there are, you know, plenty of Instagram sites and places. And I find that people that I've gotten great inspiration from, George Holland now he's out in Texas, phenomenal ceramist, that when you find somebody that's willing to share all this talent and you're thinking to yourself, why does this guy tell me everything he knows? Trust me, you don't know what he knows. You know, the minute I thought that I could make a George Holland piece was the minute I was like, okay, now I know why he's so good. Now I know why it's so effortless for him now, you know. But those people are so ready to tell you everything, you know, because they know it's going to take you some years, right? So find those people and they'll
gift to the world.
Yeah, they're happy to give back.
Yeah.
The person that's real stingy with their knowledge, probably not. That's not the mentor, you know, because they probably don't know as much as they think.
It only took me like 52 years to figure that out. It only took.
Is that all? Okay.
Yeah, I got there, but yes, yeah, you can't take anything with you, and love is the answer. Yeah. If you're doing more for other people, you're going to be okay. Yeah. Love is the answer.
Yeah. And it's funny because the world of fine arts, and you know, we mentioned like Forge and Fire. Well, that show, I just got back from Atlanta from the Blade Show, largest blade show in the world. There's people there from everywhere, Hungary, China.
Are they selling
Russia.
It or are they making it right there?
Both.
Oh, okay.
And of course, there's equipment people, and you know, I'm selling equipment there. But Forge and Fire catapulted people into an industry that they never knew existed. Most expensive knife that sold at at the Blade Show, $45,000. And so these farriers, you know, like a guy in Pennsylvania putting shoes on horses, realized that I know how an anvil and a forge works, and now they're making chef knives for, you know, Chef Morimoto on.
So it's an art that's been taken off. You think technology is part of that because people get to see it on the internet and see it on social media?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it kind of grew that. And so, you know, again, back to our point with like all this knowledge, well, it didn't take away from anybody. It didn't take away from the person that thought, I don't want people to know what I know because then they're going to be doing it. No, it made his world so big, and it made it so much easier for him to sell everything he had. Mm-hmm. And now he can't even make enough pieces. You know,
I agree.
You know, now it's a celebrity buying his work. You know, I know glassblowers that the last thing they made was for, you know, Demi Moore, and you know, like they don't even make pieces for you and I anymore because they're too.
Yeah. That reminds me. I'm glad you said that. What did the movie Ghost do for your industry?
Well, for one, for me at the market, I should buy a standee of
Demi, or what's his name?
Yeah,
the guy?
I've lost his name now. What's his name? Anyway, but yes, so that people can come and say, you know.
So he made an impression.
Oh my goodness, there's so many people coming. And of course, my standard response is, I know why you said that, because obviously I resemble The
And they all giggle.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
And although I've had, man, you're gonna have to tell me this, but I've had a couple like really odd things. Like I've had a couple come by and they'll go, "Hey, do you offer the ghost experience?" And I'm like, I would ask a follow-up question, but I don't even want to know the answer to the
my
follow-up
goodness.
question.
Yeah.
Or some guy will come behind me and like put his arms around me real quick when I'm not looking, and I'm thinking, okay, wait, no,
Yeah, this is,
This is-
I don't know what's in your mind, but
yeah,
this ain't.
this is not the way
normal.
the way I remember
Yeah.
the movie, but so
Oh, yeah, that's funny. His name was, started with an S. I forgot his name. He died a few years ago.
yeah, he did, yeah. Oh, my
Um,
wife's gonna be like kicking me in the shit.
Demi Moore and six S is jumping out at me.
It is.
He played in that bar fight
Yeah.
movie. TEVW. Oh, well.
We could Google it, but I'm not gonna.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, I
And
appreciate
so if
it.
anybody wants to get in contact with you, what do they do?
Randy Glotfelty Pottery, which obviously the last name.
Can you
has to
spell that?
out.
Yeah.
So it's Glotfelty. So it's really phonetic, but Glotfelty.
What's the origin surname?
Swiss. Yeah,
Swiss.
yeah. So two Swiss brothers came to Pennsylvania. One stayed in Amish country and the other came to Iowa. And so if you're in Pennsylvania and you type in if you look in the phone book, you see page after page of Glotfelty.
Are you serious? That's where they.
But in Florida, you would get a very, very small number.
Yeah.
So.
But I'll tell you.
And you come out of the market,
reputation
and we'll be at the market starting back in
September.
Yeah, late September. Finish up our class, and then
They're closed in August because of the heat and all that.
yeah. So come out and see us, and you can have a good time just watching some stuff on the wheel and chit chat. And
That is fantastic.
And
thank you, Randy.
thank you.
so much
Appreciate the
for your
invite.
time.
It's fun.
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
fun chatting about Lakeland and good stuff. So
Yeah. Thank Phil Hess for letting me use this beautiful room.
yeah,
This is fantastic.